God intends to wake us up to the constant and desperate condition of the developing world where there is only recession all the time of the worst kind. We think recessions come and go. They don't come and go. They just come. For 2/3 of the world, they just come. That's all they do is come. They don't ever go. There isn't anything, and we're not in one as far as they're concerned. This building has got electricity and heat. It's astonishing, is it not, how blind prosperity makes us to the miseries of the world or the neighborhood? God has some remedies for this. Let me read you a text and relate it to the recession. This is Hebrews 13, chapter 3. It goes like this. Remember those who are in prison, as though in prison with them, and those who are mistreated, since you are in the body. You have a body. And what's going on there? How's that verse reasoning? How's it work? He says there are people in prison and there are people mistreated and we tend to forget them. So he says, remember them, right? Okay, so we must be tending to forget them. So he says, remember, they're in prison. Remember, don't forget. We do. Well, we forget. We forget that people are mistreated. We forget that people are hungry. We forget that people are thirsty. We forget that they don't have any education. We forget that billions and billions need Christ. We just forget. And so the Bible constantly has to say, remember? And then it gives us some strange incentives and helps. It says, as though in prison with them. And those who are mistreated, since you have a body. You're also in the body. You have a body. Well, what? How's that work? It works like this. If I get sick in my body, this really happens to me as a pastor. If I have this long period of health, don't have an ache in my body, my empathy quotient for you is lower. But if I get one of those things that's going around, I pray for you better. I feel better for you. I'm more patient with you. It wasn't your fault. We're just so prone to forget. We need a recession. We need a recession so bad in order to wake up to the world in which we live. What a world we live in. So God's aim is to wake us up to facts like 1 billion people don't have safe drinking water. 16,000 children die every day from hunger-related diseases, just hunger-related diseases. 18 million children are orphaned in sub-Saharan Africa. We, as a family, read every morning the Global Prayer Digest. You can get it online or you can subscribe to it like we do, so we have paper in our hand when we're doing devotions. And that's praying each day for a different unreached people group. And so on Thursday, this is what Talitha and Noel and I read. It's 3 a.m. We were praying for the Afar people of Ethiopia. A-F-A-R. Never heard of them, neither had I. That's why we read it. It's 3 a.m. and the Afar father is still awake. The desert night is cold. He snuggles up to his wife and newborn baby to keep them warm. Their stomachs rumble with hunger. Should he slaughter his scrawny goat to feed his wife, hoping she will produce enough milk for their baby? Or should he beseech the clan elders to move again in search of weeds for the goat, or maybe even some fresh water? They are fortunate. Both his wife and their baby survived the birth. The Afar people have the highest maternal fatality rate in the world. Women give birth without benefit of sterile conditions and even clean water. Of the babies born alive, 1/3 die before the age of 5. Afar people roam throughout one of the most desolate places on earth, the Ethiopian desert. Drought and malnutrition make them vulnerable to diseases such as tuberculosis, malaria, conjunctivitis, and other waterborne illnesses. Of 13 million afar, 3 million are infected with HIV and AIDS. Do you know that? I didn't. Now I know. And we prayed. Small thing, a little teeny small thing. God, have mercy on the afar people. Send somebody. Lord of the harvest, you told us to ask. Send somebody. Send somebody who cares about all their suffering, especially their eternal suffering. That's the way we pray every morning for a different group. But you feel it more if you're sick, or if a recession helps you wake up to what the world is really like for most of the people in the world. It's good to know these things. And it helps me think about this church. It's not easy to be the Church of Jesus Christ in America. Sometimes I wonder if we are the Church of Christ in America. It helps me dream of cultivating a radical culture at Bethlehem in which hundreds of people dream of ways of spending their lives creatively, long-term, for the relief of suffering. That's what hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people to think that way about growing up and getting old and dying. Instead of the whole mindset being school, job, car, house, health care, retirement, dead. What is that? When this is happening, surely the mindset should be life counting. Life counting. Whatever your profession is, counting for the relief of suffering, especially eternal suffering, which is the most serious kind. That's what I mean by a radical culture at a church where that's just the way you grow up here and get old here. We have a vision at Bethlehem called Treasuring Christ Together. It's our fumbling effort to try to figure out how to do church in the Twin Cities where there are a lot of lost people, and it has these three parts: multiplying campuses instead of enlarging this downtown thing, and church planting, and the global diaconate, which is an effort to constantly keep before us the poorest of the poor, so that over the last, since 2005, last 4 years, we have given $7 million to Treasuring Christ Together, to multiply campuses, plant churches, and global diaconate. 10% goes to church planting, 10% goes to the global diaconate, which means, and this gives me great encouragement, which means $700,000 over and above the $9.2 million budget for doing church steady state has gone to the poorest of the poor, and $593,000 of that is out. It's gone. That makes me glad. When the Lord sees that, He says something like, I think, that's good. And don't relent. And don't be satisfied. That's number 2, awakening us to the world through our own little recession.